Hi, thank you so much for being able to make it for this talk. And today we're going to be having a look at what is animation. And my name is Dennis Bafia. I have been an animator for quite some time, and I'm just going to share my knowledge with you. Thank you for being here again. So, to start us off, what is this whole animation industry? Well, the animation industry is a $270 billion industry. This is so important for us to realize the kind of potential that we are sitting on. And so the question is, where are you? And what do you want to do with this particular opportunity? So without much further ado, let me just introduce myself once more. My name is Dennis Mbuthia. I'm a 2D animator, a game designer, and a teacher of game development, graphic design, motion graphics, and animation. And it's such an amazing privilege for me to be able to tell you more about the craft that I have been doing for the past couple of years. And I hope that I'll be able to pique your interest and let you get a chance to completely and fully understand what it is to be an animator at this time, day and age. And so let's dive in. So animation comes from the root word called anim, which is Latin for meaning life. And animation, what we generally understand it as, is the creating the illusion of life, and giving it to inanimate objects. So what this means is you take uh, an image like what you're seeing right here, and we are able to move it around, like we move its eyes, its mouth, its hands, and then it starts giving us the illusion of life, because at the moment it's a still image, but the moment at which you start being able to move things around, you start getting to see animation. And what are some of the things that what are some of the main animation mediums that are used to be able to uh, convey this information? So with this, I have to delve into our very own industry and get to look at use some of the animations that we locally have to show you what it's all about. So the first one is Makarao. I know this is a show that you've probably seen somewhere, either on Viusasa, or you've seen a couple of clips on this here and there. Well, that's a form of 2D animation. And 2D animation means that it's a flat image that has been drawn, and it does not have any depth. We create an illusion of depth. And so this is one of the examples. While on the other hand, the next most famous thing, do you know those characters? Can you mention them? I know you can. Yeah. And that's Mbogwa right there, and his son who's going off to boarding school. Interesting. It's a very interesting time when schools are actually, guys went back to school very recently. Yeah. So this, as you can see, the kind of feel and style, this one now gets you some additional depth. That character feels like it's a bit round, there's a bit of volume that is in it. And this is a virtual image. This has been virtually done. This object exists in a 3D space, okay, where in 2D animation you had only the X and Y, but in this case you have the X, the Y, and you also have the depth. And that's why it kind of feels like it has some volume, it has some weight towards it, even just by looking at it, as you can see from his extra big belly that Mbogwa has at the back there. Okay. And so what are some of the techniques that we use to create these animations? Some of these animations, so the techniques that we have is traditional animation. So a technique is here in this case is an innovative approach that you wish to use to make an animation. So and being able to convey a story through moving objects. Remember, animation is about creating of life, and the only way you can create life is by showing movement. So how do you record that movement? How are you going to, what things are you going to have with you to make that animation? That's what the technique is. And so far we have a few, which I'm just going to mention just a few of them, and one of them is traditional animation. Traditional animation is where somebody sits down with a pen and paper and gets to draw every single frame, frame by frame, and then they flip it through, and then they take it to a camera and take it to a scanner, scan in all the images, and then now be able to color it out and all. So it's a fairly long process, and it used to be done for Walt Disney style kind of animations and all, and it really needed somebody who can be able to draw. So any of you who really love drawing, I'd have a pen and paper, you love that medium, pen and paper as your means of expression, then this is a very good way of going about it. It's just that it needs a bit of practice, and it takes quite some time to be able to get something done. Then the other is computer animation. So computer animation means basically you're going to do the whole animation on a computer as your main medium, which means you have to have some softwares, you have to have some hardwares with you, so that you can be able to make the animation. So most of the time what people do is that they do their drawings, they scan the images, and then take them into the computer and start now actually redrawing them, and that's a mix, and that mix is called tri-digital computer animation. And purely computer animation can be that you actually create the animation inside the computer using the different tools. So one of them is like a graphics tablet. It's like the pen and paper, but now it's just using another medium called a graphics tablet. So it looks exactly like, it's not exactly, but it works like having a pen and paper, because the tablet itself, you draw on top of the surface, and you actually have a stylus and a pen that you show with it. And also, this also covers a bit of what you had seen, the 3D animation, because everything within the 3D animation is created virtually. It's created within the computer. So you can't be able to make a 3D animation outside a computer environment. But for traditional, for some of you who may have seen in primary school or high school, when people's dictionaries have drawn cartoon characters, right at the side, right on the corner of the book, that time, yes, then that at that particular point is tradition, is a bit of traditional animation that has been done, drawing all those characters frame by frame. And then we have under the camera animation. So this has various forms. What it just means is that the camera is the one that is taking either photos, or it's taking photos in quick succession of each other to be able to show to record some movement that will be played back later. So this technique, usually you'd find it in something called stop motion. And stop motion is where you have some puppets, and you have a camera on them, and you just move the puppet slightly, take a photo, move it slightly, take a photo. Do that several times, and then eventually those individual photos that you took, you can output them in a video, and then bam, you have your animation. Then there is also shadow animation. In this case, they have some animated character or a character, and then they have a light shining from above it, and then the camera is light below that camera, or the opposite. The camera could be on top, but the light is coming from beneath, and the character is obscured in such a way you cannot see through it. So you're just seeing that it's black, and that's why it's called shadow animation. You're just seeing, you're recording the shadow and the movement of what's going on. And then again, all those successive images, you output them as a video, and then you have your animation. Another one is sand animation. So this one was simple. You have a bed that is full of sand. It has sand right on top of it, and then you keep on moving it. And this one is usually for experts, really good experts. There are even shows in Japan where people just flock an entire studio just to watch this sand animation, because it's usually done live. And unlike the others, they actually have a video recorder on top of it, and then it actually just shows you as the person is animating, and it's really amazing and wonderful. You can even do it with paint on glass and be able to do the same thing, but it's highly technical, and it takes quite a bit of time to be able to do it. Then another one is called film scratching, where you have film pieces, and then you etch out some parts of it so that it can be able to see, and then again take those photos, and then in this case it's not a photo, but that film is actually put now on an actual film, a film reel, and then it's played out. It takes a lot of time. It's quite expensive also, and also the availability of these tools is not that much there. And there are very many others. So just to give you an example, so this is traditional animation, where you're seeing the person right there drawing. So he has several drawings right there, so that you can be able to focus on them, and on your character, always looking at reference images. So here he has some few facial expressions that he has drawn, such that when he's actually transferring it onto the paper here, he's going to copy what he had drawn earlier before with the character study and everything. Then we have computer animation. That's now what I mentioned. So in this case, as you can see, it's a 3D character. This is in Maya, and somebody now manipulating the puppet, inside it. Then here we have still an example of computer animation. This is now 2D animation, where you're drawing. So this is what I meant. This is an advanced version of a graphics tablet that actually has a screen where whatever you draw is exactly what you see. So it almost feels the same as a paper and pen. But there are other tablets that you attach to it, you just with a USB cable to your computer, and then you can be able to draw. So these ones are less expensive. They're much less expensive, but this one is quite expensive. It costs anything from 150,000 to 400,000, so it's really a bit expensive. But the other drawing tablets are cheaper, from 10,000. You can be able to get one for 10,000, but a very good one would be 15,000 and thereabout. And then here is stop motion. So this stop motion is also known as claymation, because of the medium that you're using. So stop motion is a general term whereby you just move an object. I mean, even like I can even use my cup here. I can use my cup, take photos on it, and be able to show it and take a photo of it being here, then there, then there, then there. Some of you probably have watched the Aromat video, and the Aromat video is a very good example of that, because that's what they did. They just took small pictures, they had a camera on a tripod, and then they were just taking pictures. You remove an item, move it slowly, take a picture, move it slowly, take a picture. In fact, there's even a Sauti Sol, a Bensoul, a song that was released very recently they used the same technique, so you can check it out. Then So stop motion is a general term where you can use these different items to be able to convey your story. Okay, while claymation is very specific, that the characters that you're using, like what you have here, is that the character itself was made out of clay, a special kind of clay that could be painted as it is, and then they would move it slowly, take a photo, move it slowly, take a photo. So it requires, this is one of the animation techniques that I can tell you requires a lot of patience, plenty of patience. Then and so, yeah, those are some of the techniques I wanted to show you. So how about the animation process? So now you know what is animation. You have seen the types of animation that there are, and you have seen how you can be able to make them. So what about the process? How do you actually make them? Okay, I mean, for the techniques is the ways you can, the creative ways you can be able to capture or the animation. Well, now here we talk about the process. What is it that you need to do to actually make the animation? To start off, we need first thing is you need a theme. You need a story. You need something that you want to talk about. What is it that you want your story to be about? And that's the theme. So do you want people to be patriotic? Do you want people to be empathetic? Do you want people to love? Do you want people to understand that forgiveness is something that it's an importance? So a theme. This is what's going to be the anchor point of your whole animation. It's going to guide you in making the decisions that come up later to convey the theme itself. So one of them is a script. So the script now has to reflect the theme that you had. Let's talk about love. So your script that is going to be about love needs to have something that will show us love being present or being in the air. So yeah, and then from there you do your character design. So who are the characters that you have chosen? Is it a human-like character? Is it a fantasy world that a cup could be in existence, like a Beauty and the Beast, where you had candles being able to speak, plates being able to speak, various things that you could be able to speak. So what is it that you would want to animate? So here is character design. And you start off by sketching while you are refining your work as you continue, and you've also done a bit of study to try and figure out how do you want your character to look like. If you want somebody, if for example Beauty and the Beast is a very beautiful story, it's a love story in its sense, saying that the power of love can conquer anything. And this very, very ugly person has been made, and we have this beautiful lady who now wants to be who has fallen in love with this beast. But you see, they had to take two very simple and contrasting characters. One that is unloved, if you look at it, it cannot be loved. And then you look at a loving person, she looks beautiful, everybody who loves her and would want to be her friend. And yeah, she would even be married to someone. But because she had so many people who would want to have her in her life, but she decided, no, I don't want any of these people. I want the beast, the one thing that cannot be loved. That contrast tells us, it brings out the script, it brings out a wonderful story. So you need to know about your characters so that they can bring out the story in the best way possible. Then next up is the storyboard. So once you know your script and you know what your character is going to look at, you now talk about the storyboard. The storyboard is more like the editing process that we animators have. Some of you may be filmmakers, and you know that the editing process comes after you've done the footage. But here in the animation world, we do our edits here. You see, A storyboard is a visual representation of a written script. How do you want it to look like? How do you want it to, how do you this character, where is this character going to be? This bag or this image that it's picking, where do you want it to be? So it's all about staging, it's about the characters, where they're going to be, what are they going to do, and all that. And so it really is helpful because you get to see some of the loopholes that that may have come up in the script, and help you go through it. Then you also you start doing your sound design. The next thing, sound design here is when you start it off at this point, it's simple. You're just getting the voices of the characters at first. You're getting a few sounds of the city, just something to just hold on, the iconic things that you think that will tell the story of what you want. So then you put it together with a storyboard. Remember, the storyboard is a graphical representation of the written script, almost like think about a storyboard like a comic book. That's the best example. Then we get into an animatic. An animatic is a video form of the storyboard with a bit more detail and sound. And this tells us the length of the animation. It tells us the length of the actions that are going to be taken by a character. It even tells us whether the story is engaging or not. At this point, you can now be, with all these 6 things that I have shown you right here, this is the pre-production area. And you can actually go to someone and tell them, hey, this is my script, these are my characters, this is my storyboard, this is how it will sound like, and this is the animatic to show you the general idea of how the film would look like. And somebody can be able to say, hey, I like this story, I can actually fund you. And it can also give you some good feedback on whether this is something that can be animated or not, or something that you want to continue further or not. Then the next thing, now we get into the production cycle, where we have the layouts, which are the environment. This world that these characters are going to be at, they need to be somewhere, they need to be positioned somewhere, and that's where the layouts come in. And then you pose those characters on those layouts. Remember the character design that you had in number 3? We now pose those characters onto the layouts that you have just made. Then from there we get into animation. We now start animating those characters within those layouts. The movements that need to be done comes in there. Then comes in compositing. Compositing is where the footage that you have done so far, probably you have some visual effects that you need to add, some, you're talking about some magic and you want to show the ominousness of the magic around someone, the aura around them. Then now you start to doing that on compositing, visually. So actually the full word is visual effects and compositing. And now at this point you start getting into the post-production bit. So remember, we didn't do any editing. The editing here that we have here is very simple, whereby once you rendering is converting of the animation that you have done into video clips, into short video clips. And those video clips are now joined together. So far, that's our editing, and this part is so simple. It doesn't take so much. It's not a huge process, because a lot of editing, a lot of the editing work has been done on the storyboard side. So all you're just doing is laying out all the items and then rendering it out into one final video. Okay. You render it out in small portions and then combine them together in one big one, and then finally you get into the authoring. Authoring in this case is putting it on the format that you want, whether it's a DVD or a web format that you're using, and that's just it, and you're done. That's the entire process from beginning to end. So what do you need to know when starting an animation? And the things that you may need to have. Okay. So to begin with, so here you've seen the process that we need. that we go through. And these processes, but just to remind you, is that they do change with depending on what technique you want to have. So if you wanted to do 3D, it slightly changes a bit. If you're doing 2D animation, this one, what I've shown you, fits perfectly. If you're doing stop motion, a few changes also come in there. So, and they're all determined on what technique that you want to use. And it's really helpful when you understand the medium that you're going to use to convey your story, because it's what is available to you and what you can be able to do. And as I mentioned, with stop motion, you can be able to do it with a phone. All you need is just a software for it to be able to take those photos and then put them together in a video, and you actually have a complete export. You can just do it here. And that I can say is the most accessible of all the animations that I have talked about, while the others, it's one of them, because if you have pen and paper, you can be able to make those. You can make a flip book or, for yourself, such that you can be able to make those characters to be able to draw them. So here are some of the things that you need to know when starting to animate. One is that you need to be very clear about your budget. Your story. So you need to know you need to know your story. Once you understand your story, it will help you be able to craft which is the best way of conveying this emotion. Is it in a 2D world? Is it in a 3D world? Is it in a stop motion? Okay. Then the next thing is, where is the culture? This story that you're making, who are the people it's targeting? Okay, you may be targeting a community that does not believe in taking of photos, yet your story is about somebody, a photographer. Then that's going to be null and void. Nobody will want to talk about. Nobody wants to see it. Maybe you're talking about a will, and you know that a will is something that you write just before you die. And then and some cultures, you do not at any one point talk about death before it happens, because as soon as you do, it's like it's almost like a curse, and nobody wants to talk about it. So you want to just stay away. You need to be very clear about the audience that you're having, who and the culture that is there. You can't, for Islamic, for example, for Islamic communities, they believe that you should not show the hair of a lady. Then why then? But you're telling your story with that, and probably it's tackling a very sensitive matter. Then at that point, you need to be very aware of the culture that is being presented, okay? And also, the culture that you're representing in the story also needs to be very accurate. If it is not, what will happen is people will start discrediting the film because they're seeing there are things that you're talking about but are not understood. And this is why I keep insisting, even to my very students, I tell them, you are a Kenyan. Nobody knows Kenya as better than you do. You live here, you walk around here, you are born here, you're schooling here, and you have even access to other storytellers like yourself. You know your friends, you know those friends who make you laugh. Imagine animating those stories or bringing them to life. Or these hearsays that you've heard from your grandmother or your grandfather. They told you these crazy stories about the olden times. It's amazing. So use that opportunity to actually do so. So what do you need to do? So the other additional thing is your skill and talent. So your skill and talent is really you here. It's all about getting to know what can you be able to do. Are you very good at writing? Are you very good at sorry, are you very good at drawing? Are you very good at 2D animation? Do you have that opportunity? Can you be able to do it? Awesome. Go ahead. Then this is and the kind then the skill level also determines how the kind your animation is going to be. Secondly, is get to know the amount of time. How much time do you have to do what you're making? You know, um, every time you're doing any particular project, there you're always going to be given a deadline. You're always going to be told that this needs to be done at this particular time. It needs to go on air. It needs to be sent to for a festival somewhere. People need to watch it at this time. Just like people who are going to watch, even just like when you came here, you knew you were told that this is going to be available at a specific time for you to be able to watch it. So similarly, you also need to know how much time this animation is one going to take and when it is needed. So those are two different things. How long is dependent is how long the animation is, that is production critical, but how long until the deadline tells you how fast you're going to work or how slow you're going to work. Where is the luxury of time? So you need to understand that, so to plan yourself accordingly. You don't know whether you're going to be doing it alone or you're going to do doing it with other people. So it's really helpful to know that. The next thing is the quality. Now, quality in this case, it's telling you if you really want a high quality animation or a high quality um, job to be done, then it means that you need a lot more time. If it's of a different kind of quality, so let me give good examples. Peppa Pig, for those of you who may have watched it, Peppa Pig is a very simplified animation, or that that children really love. But it's very simple, and churning it out is also very fast. But when you look at something like Avatar: The Last Airbender, or let's see, um, Fiber, the animation that I did show you a while back, and even Makarao. Actually, let's put those two together. Look at Makarao. Makarao, it's a 2D animation that can be churned out very fast. It's not as difficult or as time consuming to get it out as compared to uh, the 3D animation. You see, a Makarao episode is somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes, and at times it can even get to 10. And he will take about 2 to 3 weeks to be able to make it. But when it comes to Fiber, which is a 30-second animated advert, 30 to 1 minute animated advert, it may take him about a month or 2 months to do. Okay, so if you look at the amount of time that is being taken, it's a lot. Especially, and I'm talking about it that what I mean is he is starting from scratch, like doing the coming up with a new character, creating the environments, the script has been done, all that, like from yeah. It will take a much shorter time depending on the medium that you use, and then also the quality. Now, there, let me clarify a bit more on the quality. The quality in this case is the fineness of the graphics that you're of the visual appeal that you're going to see. How beautiful is it? The more beautiful it is, or if I may say, the more photorealistic it is, the more real it looks like, the more time will be needed to create that kind of animation. But when you have something that is non photorealistic, okay, that is more cartoon like now, like Macarao or Peppa Pig, or Dexter's Lab, or the Powerpuff Girls, that becomes less and less more complicated. So it becomes much easier to be able to do, and much faster. Okay, so the higher the quality, the more the time. The less the quality, the less the amount of time. Then next is the target audience. You need to know who you're talking to. You need to know who you're talking to, because if you don't know who is the target audience, then you're going to miss the mark. Are you talking to older people? Are you talking to younger people? Are you talking to children? Then it greatly impacts on how you're going to tell that story. What is the kind of language you're going to use? The same way you're going to talk to a child to give them instruction is not the same way you're going to give an adult. So in the same case about the stories, you're not going to give a complicated story, that a very complicated story, to a child. You're going to make sure that the story is simple and easy to understand, such that the child can be able to relate to. And at the same time, as adults, we don't want a simple story. We want the twists and turns of everything. So you need to make sure that your target audience is very well catered for, while they are while you're creating the animation. If not, you're going to lose the audience, and they'll look at their work and they'll say, this is not for me, this is purely for kids. One of the biggest sensations that has been there recently has been Rick and Morty. And Rick and Morty it's an adult animation, but the style that they're using is of 2D animation, computer animation. And it's so well done, and the following is great, and people love it, and they want to see it a lot. Macarao, look at Macarao. Macarao is being a local production. They need to showcase the persons as close as possible. So what they did is they looked at the audience. What is it that they like, and what is the skill level that he did, and the amount of time that he had, and the quality of the production he need. He does do a very good quality job when it comes to Macarao, and but it's, as I said, it does take time. But it's because of who was he targeting. He was targeting the adult, the young adults and the adults who have experienced all this cops and all the macarao that you keep on meeting. We've met them probably on our way here, and we even probably know one by name, So who are you then who are you going who is your target audience? How are you going to represent them? And the easiest way for him, and what was accessible to him, was the 2D animation style, and he's done it and still does it to date. So what is your target audience? What would they like to see? Do they want something very cartoony? Do they want something more realistic? Okay. And for the longest time that I have been teaching, and I have been within the industry, I have seen that people do like a stylized look. Stylized look is less real and more in a fantasy cartoon world kind of direction. And but again, times are changing, so you have to do your research and get to see what is it that people would want to have. So after knowing your target audience, yes, the biggest culprit in the room, the budget. How much money? How much money do you have? How much money is going to be used in the production? How long is the animation? If the animation is going to take you a whole month to do, how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay the electricity? How are you going to pay the rest of your team? How are you going to make sure that your software is up to date? All this is just dependent on money. And even tells you which software you're going to use. So, and how long, again, also the amount of time you're going to take on a project is also dependent on your budget. If you have a good budget and you can have 3-4 people with you, that means your delivery time is shorter. But if you don't, if you have a minimum budget, minimum to zero budget, then what you do is you take the time. You just need more time to it. You'll sacrifice a bit more, but eventually the fruits of your labor will be seen. So just work around what you have, and don't kill yourself. But don't go ahead and not do an animation because you do not have the budget. Even if you have a 15-minute story, and so far you can only do 30 seconds of it just to showcase what it's all about, that is good. That is way better than nothing. Because one, people will, once they get to see it, you'll get to see the kind of um, crowd and how much they would want to be a part of your story. They want to get to see it done. And if you go ahead and tell them, okay, I have this story, I just need a few, this amount of money so that I can be able to develop it, then go ahead, tell them. It will be interesting. You never know what they're going to say. Okay? Yeah. So those are the general things: story, culture, talent, or skill, and the level of skill, how much time you have, and how much time the animation is supposed to be, and the quality of the animation, the target audience that is needed, that is going to interact with your content, and how much money you have. So, next question is, what do you need to animate? Well, as I said, we have different techniques that you can be able to use. So, let me start off with software. Some of the software that you will need to get for you to work, you can say are divided into seven. I'm going to divide them into two categories. One of them is one that you will need generally. Okay, that because the pre-production part is very specific. It doesn't matter which medium you're going to use. You still need a script, you still need a character design, you still need a storyboard. Whether you're doing 2D animation, 3D animation, or stop motion, you still need a storyboard, you still need a script. So I'm going to tackle the softwares that you need within your pre-production, and then now get into the ones that you need in your production process. So what is needed? In your pre-production, one thing that you'll need is for your storyboard. And not only for your storyboard, but you can also use it for your character design. I had missed out on putting that together. But so for your character design, you may need something like Photoshop. You can use pen and paper, of course. You can use Krita, which is a free animation software, and Inkscape, GIMP. All these are free animation softwares that you can be able to use. So for storyboarding, these would be the best so far. Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, this is one of the best in industry standard within the market. All animators around the world are conversant with Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. Then a free version is Storyboarder. It's a free version. You can download it online, and it's freely available. It has a bit of a learning curve to get to, but it helps you get the work done. But again, if you don't have a PC with you, you can also do this on pen and paper. All you have to do is understand how to do it, and hopefully there will be a time that you will get a workshop on how to do a storyboard. Then the next thing is to do is now the different productions. So the first one is 2D animation, and specifically for this there's Toon Boom Harmony, Adobe Animate, Moho, TV Paint, and Krita. Just to give you a small understanding of the differences, Toon Boom Harmony again is together with the Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. They work very well together. So with and it's really good, and has been used to make quite a number of animations. Adobe Animate has also been a very seminal program. It has been there for quite some time. It's been longer than Toon Boom. It's just that and the good thing about it is it has the shortest learning curve time. It would be very interesting for you to probably see whether this is something that you would want to use at some point for yourself, because this is what I usually teach. I teach with, and it's really helpful for students to really get to understand animation quickly and quite fast, and Adobe Animate helps me to do that in class, and my students usually get it very easily, and then you can easily port into anything else. You can go to Harmony, Moho, TV Paint, or Krita. And then the thing is, for Toon Boom Harmony, Toon Boom Harmony and Animate, they have what we call vector softwares. They there are softwares that are very easy on the computer. They don't have a lot of restrictions, and also Moho and Krita. But TV Paint is a bit heavy because that one you have to paint every single pixel. So it's called a pixel based. So it's almost like painting. So while this one is attaching a few lines in the computer, doing a lot of calculations behind for you. So these ones are very well suited for cutout animation. While for TV Paint, it's frame by frame animation. I know I've mentioned two new things, but those are again a further delving down into the types of techniques. So I'm just going to repeat them: cutout animation and frame by frame animation. You can go ahead and look at various videos on about this and get to see what they are about. Then there's 3D animation. 3D animation, we use Blender. Blender is free. Or for 2D animation, the ones that are free here is Krita. Krita is the only one that is free. Blender nowadays has a 2D, can do both 2D and 3D animation. And then the other professional softwares or high-end softwares is Autodesk 3ds Max and Autodesk Maya. So these two are very good when it comes to animation on 3D, and they are industry standard and recommended. Also, a special mention that there are some game development engines. They are used to create animations. Okay, you can be able to make animation films in them, and this is something that has come up recently. One of the things that I said as a process is something called rendering. Rendering takes a lot of time, and resources. Oh my goodness, it takes so much. But you know what? Persons within the game industry realized, hey, we have a powerful engine that can understand the things that are required in a 3D software, but we can be able to do it in a faster way. So then they decided, okay, let's try this. So for the last couple of years, they have been unleashing new updates on their abilities. And so Unreal Engine and Unity, they can both be used to render 2D animation, 2D and 3D animations. This is the new big dog in it, but it's yet to be an industry standard because there are quite a number of things that miss out when they are done within Unreal Engine and Unity. But that's why we still have the other softwares that I've mentioned, and I'm only mentioning this as a special mention so that you may know. And if you're interested, of course, in making games, this is something that you may want to know about, because this is where the future is going. So the next thing is, let's talk about the computer that you need to run these softwares. Okay, and this computer can either be a laptop or a PC, and it all depends on your needs. What do you want to do with it? Okay, are you the kind of person who's traveling around a lot? Then definitely for you a laptop would make sense. Only that the laptop is going to be heavy and you need to take care of your back a bit. Okay, while a PC on the other hand is a bit more constraining. It means you have to be at a certain workstation, a certain work point, and you will definitely need a workstation. And please note that also for a laptop you need a workstation, because you cannot be doing it on your lap. It gets tiring and you will have back issues and stuff. So yeah, so it depends on your needs. The good thing is, so let me just talk about the specifications for both. You'll notice that they are almost similar. They're not too far apart, but I'm going to mention why. So for 2D, I'm going to break them down in terms of the kind of medium that you're using. Are you going to do 2D animation or 3D animation? So if you're considering to do 2D animation, then this is what you'd want to consider: that you get an i3 of 7th generation minimum, 8 GB. If you can go more than this I'm giving as a minimum specification. If you get anything higher, the better. But maybe what I can be careful about is this part, the core, this generation part is really it's helpful in the sense that if you have a newer generation, so the number increases, the 7 to 8 to 9. When you get a lower generation, it just means that it may be slower, it may take a lot more heat, it may generate more heat, it may use a little bit more electricity. While these generations, as they increase in number, what they're just saying is that they're improving on the efficiency of it. So the more efficient it is, the better, but it's also equally expensive. So if you can have anything higher, or an i7, or so these numbers are either i3, i5, i7. If you can have one that is a minimum of this or anything higher, then you'll be good. 8 GB of RAM is good for you to start off with, and most softwares, but you may want to upgrade this quickly. So within your first paycheck, please make sure you budget for this. Then you have 500 GB hard disk. You will do quite a bit of animations, and so you want to increase this space, but this is good for you to start even for 1 year, and then by the next year you'll need to have start plotting to get another one, because you fill up your workspace quite easily. This is very important. Please note, you need, whenever you're going to buy the computer, you must be clear to the person you're getting it from, or from your dealer, that it must have a dedicated graphics card. Okay, most of the time they have integrated ones. Please ask and confirm that it's a dedicated graphics card. And how you will know this is that, one, it will have most likely have a sticker written NVIDIA or AMD RTX. Okay, if you find anything like that, then you're good. If you find something written Intel UHD or AMD Vega, those ones are integrated, so stay away from those ones. You can have anything else, but do not have those ones for yourself. It means that your price point for your computer will be slightly higher, but if you can get an XUK, it would be good. A drawing tablet is also, for those of you who want to, or if you want to invest into it, you can get yourself a drawing tablet. And preferably, the bigger the drawing tablet, the better. The smaller ones are really tiny, and it will mess up, especially if you're good at drawing. It may hamper your ability to draw, and you may have a bit of a difficult time getting them together. Sorry, this is meant to be 3D animation. So for 3D animation, the least you should go for is a Core i5. You can see that this is higher than this one, but the rest remain the same. Here, for 3D animation, you do not need a drawing tablet. Okay, unless of course you want to do some character design or environmental design, then you can have one. So but I omitted it because most of the time you create all these things within the 3D environment, and you'll only be needing references for it, and that's why I left it out. And another thing that I would need to mention is a PC has the capability of being upgraded. You can upgrade it easily. If it doesn't have you can buy one with a particular graphics card, and then in later years you realize no, there are other better graphics cards available. You can be able to upgrade it. However, on a laptop you cannot do that. Okay, so the only thing you can change on a laptop are two things. One is your RAM. You can add the RAM, but it also gets to a point where that's the maximum it can get to, and changing the battery. That's it. You can't change anything else to improve its performance. Okay, that's hardware wise. So I advise most people to try and get a PC. It's much better. But if you're a person again who's on the move a lot, then a laptop would work for you. Okay, so what do you do next after you've done the animation? Now, this is where we introverts, as I know that most of us are as introverts, so then what you need to do is to show it. It cannot be done and then it just sits in your desk or sits at a file, a position within your folder, please show it. And who do you show it to? Start off with your family and friends. They need to know what you're doing. You're always spending less time with them so that you can focus on something. Show it to them. Then they get to see, whoa, this is what you're doing. Then they'll be able to appreciate it. I remember a time when my dad didn't understand what I was doing, but when he got to see what I did, he was like, oh, okay, so this is what you have been doing. This is where all my money went to. Like, yes, this is it. And yeah, he was happy about it. So so even for you, show your family or your friends to help you even get that confidence of the kind of work that you're doing. Then show display, put it out on social media. Let the world get to see what you're doing. First your friends and family get it to see what other people are going to say. And of course you have to be very careful and realize that in social media you are now opening it to a lot of criticism. Yeah, all you need to remember is that you have done something. Learn. There are people who will give you negative feedback or feedback that is not constructive. Okay, that lack or that unconstructive conversations, do away with them and be more and focus on the good things and what you can be able to change. Okay, but don't let yourself be weighed down just because of that, as much as it is. But people need to see what you're doing. Then show it to your fellow animators. Okay, the fellow animators will know the struggle that you're going through, and they would want you to work together with you, and then they can even see, hey, this guy is struggling just like I am. Okay, maybe you can work together. It brings in the points where you can collaborate together. And there's a member of the Association of Animation Artists in Kenya. I can tell you that a lot of animators usually share with each other what they have learned, and it's good when people get even some additional resources that they want to share with one another. So also consider being part of of the association, but I'll talk about that in a few. Then there are the festivals. Please take them out for festivals. Do not let your work just sit there. Let it be seen by people. Okay, compete with other animators, meet other people, and network with them, collaborate. Okay, so this is the ecosystem that you're at. And then don't stay in your cocoon alone. We know there are various challenges that we all go through, but just know that you're not alone. And this is the point I will introduce the association. So the Association of Animation Artists Kenya, its main mission is to unify and empower the animation community that celebrates culture, educates, and entertains its audience through quality content. So all you're doing as an association, even that's why I'm here and had the opportunity to be able to speak to you, is just to be able to tell you about what animation is. Because we've had some people really want to get into animation and they don't really know how to. This is the beginning point. I know this is a lot to take in within 1 hour, but it's a start. And if you want to talk more, please don't be afraid to reach out. Go to our website, animationkenya.co.ke, and also just shoot us an email at info@animationkenya.co.ke. If you want to talk to someone, just drop that email and we'll be able to get you a number. We are also on Facebook, A3K, that's the other name that you have there, but you can just type in Association of Animation Artists Kenya and you will be able to see us. And yeah, and that's it. Thank you very much for being able to listen to me, and I really look forward to getting to see some of your animations and what you have done. Awesome. Bye.